Welcome to Live, Life Inspired Views for Every Day. My name is Chris Meyer, and I'm a curious soul. Last week, I mentioned that Paul from my book club had responded to my podcast about panhandlers by telling me about love in a glove box, describing the practice of putting Ziploc bags with fast food, gift cards, lip balm, granola bars, hand wipes, socks, etc., in your glove box to give to panhandlers at corners holding signs asking for help. Well, another faithful listener, my friend Pat, loved that idea and is bringing it to her mission committee at her church. Mm, Goodness explodes when people are touched and take action, changing the world one Ziploc bag at a time. Thanks, Pat and Paul, for living the example. Do you remember the scene in Wizard of Oz when Dorothy, the Scarecrow, and the Tin Man meet the lion? The lion immediately bullied them and tried to scare them until Dorothy called him out after he threatened Toto. Although it looked like he was strong and courageous, he wasn't. Most bullies are not. However, Dorothy looked scared and fearful when he first came on the scene, but she was not. When Dorothy's dear Toto was threatened, her fear disappeared and was replaced by courage. Later, when the lion was doing his speech about courage, the words he spoke he believed and were reflected in his body language. Their experiences together, the belief and encouragement of his friends and the wizard, made him feel courageous. Hmm. Courage and wisdom are wonderful partners. Observation, listening, learning, and practice build both. Courage is often defined as the disposition to feel appropriate degrees of fear and confidence in challenging situations. It's being able to stand one's ground, to advance or retreat as wisdom dictates, and to act bravely when we don't really feel brave. Sir Ernest Shackleton sent an ad to the London newspapers in 1900 to build a crew for his national Antarctic expedition. It said, "Men wanted for hazardous journey, small wages, bitter cold, long months of complete darkness, constant danger, safe return doubtful, honor and recognition in case of success." Well, he received hundreds of inquiries and applications. Would you have responded to that? The expedition failed, but through a harrowing journey, these courageous men leaned on the leadership and courage of Sir Ernest Shackleton to get them home all safe. And he did. Ernest Hemingway defined courage as grace under pressure, and Shackleton proved it. Folklore, heroic acts by real people throughout the ages, fiction and nonfiction alike all tell stories of hidden courage to save the day. We constantly seek these stories. We need these stories to assure us that we too, when faced with danger, can overcome the overwhelming fear and stand up to the threat and hopefully survive. There are many folk tales to teach courage. These stories often seem to show that confidence and courage come to the least suspecting players in life. But most of all, these stories teach us that courage and strength comes from within. Start looking for these kinds of stories and you will find them everywhere. Perhaps they have been passed on and collected because they serve as a roadmap to get us through the treacherous journey of life. We lean into them because we instinctively know we need something to assure us that we too can act with courage. My dad told me a story years ago that has always served for me as encouragement and a way to respond to a true threat. The story goes that there was a pastor who picked up a hitchhiker. Soon after the hitchhiker got in the car, he pulled out a gun and told the pastor to pull over. Instead, the pastor pushed the accelerator all the way down and calmly said to the hitchhiker, "I'm ready to die. Are you?" The surprised and terrified hitchhiker quickly put his gun on the dashboard. Hmm. That story says several things, but it ultimately tells us the big thing we fear is rooted in that we might actually die. It's normal to fear death because though we know we will experience it someday, We are still alive and have no real blueprint to assure us what the experience is like and what will happen. Death is the unknown. Again, most of us, and some without realizing it, have practiced it through movies, through books and stories, and through our imaginations. We are in a threatening political climate. No one really knows what will happen. We fear. So, what do we do? How do we prepare for, shall we say, the worst, just in case? We know the stories of folklore, of history, of other lives lived in difficult times. So we practice in our heads. Because as the saying goes, those who fear they will suffer already suffer what they fear. Preparation and practice can give us the courage to calmly say during the biggest fears of life, I'm ready to die. Are you? You may not feel it inside, but saying the words will summon the courage. This week, on your bathroom mirror, write, inhale courage and exhale fear. Join me next Monday for Live, Life Inspired Views for Every Day. I'm Chris Meyer, and I'm a curious soul.